I had to like really identify what those things were. And I think a lot of people, again, fall victim to living a mediocre life because they lack that. They don't plan, they don't identify what they want. They just live life, right? We all like we live life to maintain bills, right? We live life to maintain the lifestyle that we have been accustomed to. And so that's when you kind of fall prey to going to a job that you really hate. That's when you fall prey to paying bills that are going to keep accumulating no matter how much money you make, right? Because you don't have any direction. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the More Than Average Men podcast. I'm your host, Michael Benton, and this is episode 1. Listen, I'm super excited for you guys to be here. I'm a little nervous because, again, this is just my first time ever doing a podcast. Traditionally, I've been doing YouTube, and so it's kind of a little bit of a different feel, but we're gonna get it right. We're gonna work through it. So, listen, man, I'm very excited for you guys to be here. This has been a long time coming for me. I've always wanted to do a podcast. I just think that the atmosphere of a podcast is just so in depth and it's just so dope. So it's kind of crazy that I'm actually doing it, but again, this is why we're here, right? We're always working towards our wants. This first show, man, it's all about understanding why you're here, right? Like, why did you actually come to this particular podcast, right? Like, what were you seeking? What are you actually here for? And so I really wanted to dive into like our wants and our desires. And hopefully at the end of the show, man, hopefully you guys get some type of insight as to what it is that you guys really want. Okay. So I first want to start off by saying like my point number one is the things that we want drive us to take action, right? And that could be getting a home, right? That could be getting the car that we want. That could be marrying the woman that we wanted since high school, right? Like whatever the things that we identify as what we want, we typically take action towards those things. And I noticed that for me, the more that I focus on those wants, like the more I attracted them to me, right? So let me give you an example. So like, I've always wanted like a pickup truck. So I used to live in the Midwest. I used to live in South Dakota. If you've never been, don't go. It's okay. And so everyone drives a pickup truck because like it snows 10 months out of the year. It's crazy. And so I always was attracted to like Dodge Rams. And so what I did was I was driving a Chrysler 300 at the time. And I'm like, man, I really want a truck. Just because we had just moved into a new house and it was easier to transport things. And like, again, it was just easier to get around that type of weather in the Midwest. And so I just kind of kept it in my forefront, right? So like I would drive past dealerships and I would see the trucks that I like, or I was always searching on the internet for vehicles that I liked. And what I kind of took from that was the more focus that I had on getting a truck, the closer I got to attract it. So here's what I mean. If you're wanting a truck, just for an example, and you're using what they call a reticular activating system, right? So this is a part of your brain that when you focus on something, you just see it over and over and over again. You guys ever had like, and a good example would be like, we're just gonna stick with cars because it's a good thing to use it as an example. But like, you ever like want something like a car and then you keep seeing that car everywhere you go? That's your reticular activating system kicking in, right? That's your focus. So again, by me going to dealerships, having conversations with the salesman, I eventually started creating conversations around this particular truck. And so, me having conversations with the salesman led to, oh, what can I get for my car? And then it was like, okay, well, what kind of terms can I get? Can I get the same payment? And that action led to me getting my first Dodge Ram. I think it was it was like a 2017 Dodge Ram Hemi. Like I was pumped. It was super cool. But that's just what I'm talking about. That's an example of when you focus on something that you want and you take action towards it, you're ultimately going to end up getting it, right? And so I think a lot of people fall into the place where they don't really know what they actually want, right? Like a lot of the times when you ask someone, hey, like what are you into? Like what is it that you want for your life? A lot of the times it's a realization of what other people want. It's a realization of what they see other people have, and then they sort of adopt that and they make it their own, right? So like you'll see like, oh, you'll watch an NBA game and you'll see like a really good player, And maybe you're into basketball and you're like, oh, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be the next LeBron. But you're only seeing that because of the level that he's at and what he has, right? But that's not really your true intention. That's not what your true want is. So you guys need to be very cognizant of, what it is that you want. I mean, essentially, that's for me. I believe that's why we're all here, is to get to a point where it's not about the end destination, but it's more so about the journey and the person that you're becoming towards the things that you're working towards. So a really good tip for you guys, I think, is through your actions or your inactions, you will truly identify what you want. Here's what I mean by that. So like, if there's something that you want, that you identify that you want, and if you take actions towards it, that should give you an inclination that you possibly really do want that, right? But also keep in mind, if you don't take any action, that should also give you an idea that you probably don't want that thing, right? So I'm sure you guys have probably ran into it where it's like, oh, I really want to get fit for the summer. I really want to go to the gym. And you find yourself where you go the first day because you're pumped up off of dopamine and this motivational high, right? But then day 2, you lag off. Day 3, you lag off. Day 4, you're like, you probably really don't want to work out, bro, right? Or another key thing is, I want you guys to pay attention to this. It's because this will also lead you to your inadequacies, right? So let's say that you really want to go to the gym, but then you find out that you aren't consistent. Now this is leading you to your struggles, the things that you struggle with, right? Self-discipline, confidence, belief. So these are all things that you need to be aware of when you are moving towards the things that you want, because they will show you your inadequacies and they'll also show you your strengths, right? And so again, this took a lot of time for me to understand this. Like, I started my journey in self-development back, I think, in 2015 and 2015, and that's when I personally hit my like all-time low. At the time I was married, I had 2 kids, and I had just got laid off from doing mortgages for the last like 4 years or whatever. And I remember coming on my stairs, sitting home on my stairs at my house and crying, like bawling, right? And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I felt my life was just spiraling, because I'm like living paycheck to paycheck. My relationship with my kids was superficial. My relationship with my wife was just surface level. Like, shit just wasn't working. Like, I don't know what I was doing, but I really felt like I was meant for so much more, but I just could not figure out like why shit was not going the way that it was supposed to go. And at that moment, that's when I realized, like, okay, I can't continue to blame external circumstances. I can't continue to blame my boss for not giving me a raise or letting me go. I can't continue to blame my wife for our lack of communication, like all of these things, right? And so I really had what they call it, a coming to Jesus moment on my stairs. And although it was one of the hardest times of my life, it was the pinnacle of what I needed to start on this journey that I'm on now. And so I'm sure all of you guys will find at some point in your life where you've gone through the same thing, or maybe you're in that spot right now. And I just want to tell you, dude, like, it'll be okay. Like, you're gonna make it through. Like, it's gonna suck horribly. Like, it's gonna be horribly bad, but it's those trials and tribulations, it's those pains that we have to go through, that on the other side of that is so much success. It's like so much better version of ourselves. But unfortunately, you have to go through the fire, right, so to speak. And so, again, just paying attention to, the things that lead you to your inadequacies and the things that you identify as what you want will lead you to the places that you really want to go. All right. So my point number 2 is identifying that, like identifying your wants is paramount, because without doing so, like, you fall victim to mediocrity. No lie. Like, you will fall victim to being that average guy. You will fall victim to being that average person, which you're obviously here for a reason. You don't want to be average. And so again, it's just about being cognizant, right? So again, identifying your wants is so paramount. You have to do it. If you don't, here's what I realized this is how I knew I was living an average life, right? Because think about this. I had the car, I had the house, I had the wife, I had the kids, I had a little bit of cash. I was doing things on the weekends that I kind of wanted to do, right? Like, if you look at any other person on planet Earth, they were like, damn, dude, you live a pretty good life. But to me, I was like, this is a shitty life, right? Because it wasn't what I really wanted, right? And so I had to like really identify what those things were. And I think a lot of people, again, fall victim to living a mediocre life because they lack that. They don't plan. They don't identify what they want. They just live life, right? We all we live life to maintain bills, right? We live life to maintain the lifestyle that we have been accustomed to. And so that's when you kind of fall prey to going to a job that you really hate. That's when you fall prey to paying bills that are going to keep accumulating no matter how much money you make, right? Because you don't have any direction. So again, if you haven't had the opportunity as of yet, which you will today because you're going to learn this from me, that you need to identify what your beliefs are, or I'm sorry, you need to identify what your wants are. And I guarantee you, once you truly take a true measurement of what your wants are, you are going to start moving in the direction that's going to gravitate success, that's going to gravitate peace, joy, happiness, like all of these things that we truly desire and want. We just think that they're unattainable because we don't want to do the work, right? We don't want to do the work. It's easier to live it's easier to be living a normal life, right? Normal, because we become accustomed to it, right? But all that's just going to change, bro. All of it's going to change because you're here for a reason. And then, like I said, my point number 3 is, so how do you go about making that list, right? How do you go about identifying your wants? And it's simple. You take out a piece of paper and you literally jot down everything that you want. I want you to think of it like this. If I were to give you a magic wand and I told you you could have anything that you wanted with no obstacles, what would you put? What would you put down? Start writing that down. And it doesn't matter how far-fetched the idea is. If it's something that you can accomplish in a year, is it something that you can accomplish in 5, 10, 20 years? Like whatever it is. There's no obstacle. So I want you guys to take out a piece of paper and I want you guys to make a list of all the things that you want and there would be no obstacles standing in your way to get those. Now, some of you are like, dude, I've been in this funk for so long, I can't even fathom what I want. I can't even think about it. I have no idea where to start. No problem, bro. I got you. This is what you're going to do. You're going to still make a list, right? But you're going to start putting down things that you don't want. Work backwards, okay? So let me give you an example. Let's say you don't want a terrible marriage. You don't want to be in debt. You don't want to drive a jalopy, like whatever it is, right? Work backwards. Then what you're going to do is, once you have that list of things that you don't want, I want you to go in between those spaces, right, on that page, and I want you to write the opposite of what that thing is. Does that make sense? So, again, give you another example. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, right? That would be something that you don't want. Beneath that, you're going to put the opposite of what that is, right? I want to live in abundance, right? I want to have a lot of money. Whatever comes to you, whatever that statement looks like for you, you're going to write that down. That's your want. That's where you're going to start. And when you do that, again, you're probably going to have a page full of stuff. Some of you guys might have 2 or 3 things that you really, really want. And other stuff is just, it's not important. It doesn't matter how long your list is or how short your list is. This is just a guiding point for you to start in the direction that you need to be. Because right now, if you were like anything like I was, you were complacent, right? You were just like, oh, I'm just living status quo, right? Just kind of going through life, working jobs I hate, right? Working for other people, like that was not me. And so I had to first identify those wants. And so again, I truly hope that helps you guys. I know it helped me. I'm very, very excited to be having these conversations with you guys because we're gonna dig deep. We're gonna dig some shit out of you that's probably gonna be very uncomfortable for you. But as I mentioned before, you have to be uncomfortable, right? You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, is what they say, right? And so again, hopefully you guys took some information from that, some good nuggets. I look forward to being with you guys on the next podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel wherever you're listening to this at. There's gonna be a lot more good content coming, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next time. So peace out.